that when you're buying, I do not want my sourcing VAs or my purchasing manager to just buy things on a whim. What's up, Amazon sellers? If you are looking about how to hire and train a purchasing manager, then look no further. Today, in this video, I'm going to go through everything about hiring and training a purchasing manager, all the top tips and tricks, and I'll talk you through how I've done it in my business and supported other businesses as well. Okay, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Thomas Parkinson, and I have been running an Amazon arbitrage business for about the last 4 years. Now, quite simply, I have a purchasing manager and a team of sourcers who are sourcing within my business, and also in addition to that, I run the FastTrackFBA Academy, where we help other Amazon sellers and have supported them with hiring purchasing managers in their business and scaling their Amazon business as well. If you want to know a little bit more about me, right now I'm on a journey to 1 million, and I'll drop a link up there to that video and you can see what I'm doing and my journey so far. Okay, so what are we going through today in this video? Number one, I'm going to go through a brief definition of what a purchasing manager is. Number two, I'm going to talk about how to hire a purchasing manager. Number three, if you're looking at promoting a purchasing manager instead, I'll talk about that as well. And then number four, how to train a purchasing manager for your Amazon business. First things first though, coffee. Oh my God, I love coffee. These cups are a bit small and it's quite strong coffee, but hey, it's right. Black, no milk, no sugar, lovely. Okay, so first things first, what is a purchasing manager? That's one of the questions you might be thinking. Okay, so quite simply, in my Amazon business and the way I've helped other people in their Amazon business, what do we class the purchasing manager as? Well, quite simply, they're a next level sourcing VA. And I say that because they need to understand the fundamentals of sourcing, deal analysis really on, should we say, doing Amazon or selling on Amazon. And it's that fundamentals, that understanding of deal analysis in Amazon, which allows them to make good buying decisions and obviously purchasing stock. So quite simply, number one, I would call them, should we say, a next level sourcing VA. But then number two, fundamentally, what do? They buy stock. Now, obviously you want them to buy the right stock, hence why we say they are a next level sourcing VA. So they're buying stock to resell on Amazon. That is it. The VA who does it for you remotely in their country, and they can do it all online, obviously just using credit cards and a prep center works really well, or maybe your house if you're prepping there. Okay, so one of the questions you might be thinking about, what's the best way to hire a purchasing manager? How do I hire a purchasing manager? My advice, and I learned from this from personal experience, don't hire a purchasing manager. Now, it's not to say that you can't find a good one, you could possibly, but generally speaking, purchasing managers, i.e. what they do, don't exist. They're like a new role. Amazon's pretty new in the world. They are quite a new role. It's not to say that there aren't people who've done purchasing in other businesses before, not a problem, but within Amazon as a purchasing manager, it's quite a new role and there's a lot of technical skills that are required just to understand Amazon deals, which is why I say when you hire directly into the role, generally it leads to, more often than not, just the performance isn't where it needs to be. Now, the one thing which I really add on to why you shouldn't hire rather than you should do what we'll suggest in a moment is quite simply, what does a purchasing manager do? Well, a purchasing manager is buying stock using credit cards or using payment accounts, your payment accounts, to resell on Amazon. Now, quite simply, for me to give my credit card details to someone, and right now, my purchasing manager is spending way over £10,000 every single week of my cash. £10,000, like 13,000 US. My currency might not be brilliant, but the idea is to say that I've got to trust that person. And if I can't trust them, then I sure as hell won't be giving them my purchasing cards, my credit cards. And as a result, trust is the key, the foundation of this. And trust isn't something you can just hire for. You've got to develop it, you've got to earn it. So this is why I'm really against, should we say, hiring. I'm saying against, advising against hiring a purchasing manager. Why? Because you don't really know the person you're hiring. You've given them an interview, maybe you've now given them a bit of training, and then you give them the credit cards. And whenever I hear people where problems have happened, and it's not so much the credit cards have gone missing, they've done a lot of stuff wrong, bad decisions, that it takes a long time to get there. So number one, trust, and then number two, experience. I just don't see that you find from hiring, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. Now, the final one I'll just kind of add on to the end of that is about building a relationship. Because of this person is so key in your business, they are finding deals, or not so much finding deals, they're analyzing deals, purchasing them, £10,000 in my business, and they're managing my team, that relationship I have with them, i.e. they understand me, we communicate very clearly and effectively, that is super, super important. So I'm not saying that there might be a VA out there who's really good at purchasing, but I might not be able to have a good working relationship with them. And that's key for my business to grow. So I want a good working relationship. And I think that is something that you should always be looking for when you're promoting into these senior positions. Okay, quick question for you guys. Are you looking at having a purchasing manager in your business? I'm really interested to know. It might not be now, it might be in the future, or maybe it's now. Drop it in the comments below. Let me know if you want a purchasing manager in your business. I'm really interested to see how many of our viewers are interested in this topic and having someone in their business do that role. Okay, so what you might be thinking is, if I can't hire a purchasing manager, how do I deal with it? Well, quite simply, don't worry. I really, really recommend that you promote a purchasing manager. Now, I'm just going to explain why and why this is important. One of the two reasons, or the two reasons why I'm quite against, or say really don't advise against hiring a purchasing manager: number one, trust, and number two, solid relationship. And hey, number three, even the knowledge. If you're promoting, you've already got an understanding of who they are. You can trust them because, my God, they turn up to work every single day, they do a great job, they're not lying, they're not being manipulative. You know this is a trustworthy person who's built that. Number two, relationship. Well, they've turned up. You've got to know them over a period of time, you know who they are, they know you, it works. Like, this business works for them, the job's right for them, they're happy, you can see that in their day-to-day, and it means they're ready to take on to the next challenge. And then I'd say number three, quite simply, experience. I talk about £3 profit, 30% ROI, and we use that as a guide, but we're not exactly clear cut on that. But as a guide for purchasing, £3 profit, 30% ROI, 5 sales per month. Now, I can show you deals which meet that criteria that you wouldn't buy, but I'd also show you deals that don't meet that criteria that you would buy. And there are certain variations in that. So what does that mean? It means having the knowledge of what a good deal looks like for you and what you would buy in your business and what I would buy in mine can be different. So having a VA who's understood your business, maybe they've put deals forward and they've seen them rejected and even accepted when they don't meet the criteria, they'll start to understand how you're thinking. And that is super, super key. So for that, I'd probably say, look, number one is making sure they've got the trust. That is key. £10,000 a month is a lot of cash, a week, sorry. Also as well, building the relationship, that's really important. And then also as well, number three, understanding the depth of knowledge of your business and just understanding how your business operates. So they've got experience. So obviously I'm a big believer in promoting, not hiring. And let's go through that now, exactly how I would do it and share that information with you. So if you don't know, in my second video, I released a purchasing manager, and I'll drop a link up there. I did talk about what I'm looking for in a sourcing VA to promote to a purchasing manager. So before I talk through the steps of going through how to promote, let's just quickly recap on what are the behaviors or the skill set that I'm looking for when we promote a purchasing or a sourcing VA to a purchasing manager. Now, quite simply, this is a really simple diagram that I've got, which shows 3 VAs. Maybe you've got 3, you've got 2 in your business, and it's just going to help you understand what I look for when I do a sourcing VA or to promote to a purchasing manager. Now, we've got VA1, they have found, let's say, for example, in a typical day or a week, doesn't matter, you can see it over the time frame that you want. VA1 has found 10 deals, and we buy 3 of them. VA2 has found 20 deals, we buy 5 of them, and VA3 has found 8 deals and we buy 4 of them. Now, the one thing you might be thinking initially, you know what, VA2 is my top VA, they're finding the most amount of deals, and not only that, we're buying the most amount of deals, so they should be my purchasing manager. But I don't think that's right, and I'll explain why. VA1 has a deal to purchase ratio, so this is how many deals we've purchased of how many we've submitted, of 30%. VA2 submitted the most number of deals, but had a deal to purchase ratio of 25%. So submitted the most deals, purchased the most deals, a 25% deal to purchase ratio. VA3 submitted 8 deals, we purchased 4, deal to purchase ratio 50%. Now, I would be looking to promote VA3. And the reason why I promote VA3 over what you might think of VA2, quite simply, what I'm looking at is who understands the deals that I want to buy, who rejects the most amount of deals and gives me the highest percentage of deals which are going to work for my buying criteria. Now, quite simply, why? Because if I'm spending £10,000 a week with this VA, or they're spending £10,000 of my cash, if they're getting 50% of the deals right to start with, that's a much higher percentage than 25% of the deals right. VA2 might be someone who's like, you know what, I'll just put it in, I'll just see how that deal goes, I want to try it. That's okay when you're submitting deals, but when you're buying, I do not want my sourcing VAs or my purchasing manager to just buy things on a whim. I want them to buy them because of good fundamentals and they have a strong ability to reject deals which don't match our criteria. Hence why I'm looking at VA3, not VA2. That's a quick recap on what I did in the purchasing manager section 2. I went into a lot more detail about it. Okay, so let's get into the actual promotion part. What should you be thinking about and how should you do it when you promote it? So first things first, when I'm looking at that VA to promote, what I'm going to do is have a conversation with them. I'm going to see if they are interested in becoming a purchasing manager, and if they are, then I'm going to give it on a probationary period. So I'm going to say to them, I would like to test them out, give them a trial. We're not guaranteeing anything, and I'd always make sure it's a trial until they've passed. That would be a 3 to 6 month period. We want to see them for quite a long period of time. Number one, the training, but also as well the purchasing and the results of that purchasing. I don't want my business to fail and now I've got a purchasing manager who isn't right. So make sure you put them on a purchasing or a probation period. That's going to really help you out. Now, I will just say this, and I've seen it time and time again with VA Academy customers, don't promise. If they're going into a purchasing manager role, make it probation. Don't promise them they're getting the role because my God, if they are failing and they're not doing a good job in your business, you need to demote them and they need to be aware of that's coming. If you promise them the position, they think they've got it and they might not try. So make it really crystal clear. It's probation to promotion, but it isn't guaranteed and you will step them down if they're not performing. Then the next thing I kind of look at, and I'll kind of go into a bit more detail, is I will have a conversation with my purchasing manager, to be, should we say, and I'm going to have a conversation about being a purchasing manager, see if they are interested. I'm going to put that idea in front of them, but I'm really going to be looking at 3 fundamentals to say, is this person right for my role or my business to help me in purchasing manager? Now, those 3 fundamentals are quite simply, number 1, character. And I'll go through in detail about character. Number 2, resources, and I'll go in a lot more detail about what resources they need. And then number 3, the skill set, and I'll go into detail what you're looking for in those. So let's go into them now. Okay, number 1, we are looking about character, who they are as a person, that sourcing VA that you're going to promote, what is their character, and what kind of things are we looking for in the character of the person. When you ever think about character, fundamentally, it's got to be trustworthy. Do I trust this VA? Like, maybe they're turning up late sometimes and they say, hey, sir, I'm really sorry I was late today. You're like, that's nice. It means that they're worried about what you're thinking and they're going to be really trustworthy. I'm not saying that's definitely the answer, but you've got to say, do I have any shadow of a doubt about their trustworthiness? Because if you're doubting their ability now when they are doing, just sourcing, how are you going to feel when they're spending £10,000 of your cash? That's quite dangerous. So trustworthiness is really, really important. Do I feel I can trust them with a lot of my cash and my credit card details? Number 2, I'd really recommend thinking about, are they goal orientated? When you are a purchasing manager or when you promote a purchasing manager, what you're looking at is you've got targets for them to hit. Spend X amount every single week. We want them to achieve those targets. We want them to support the team driving it. They need to push forward with goals. So have they shown a results-oriented approach? Have they shown goal-oriented approach in their work? And can you see that they've done it? Or do they just kind of float along like, yeah. You're like, no, you want someone who's a go-getter, someone who's out there who's going to drive it forward, because you've got to trust this person to lead your team. And if they're focusing on goals, they're going to drive your team further forward. And then the final one, which I'd probably put in there about character, is about how risky or risk-averse they are. And a very good example of this is, when they're submitting deals, do they just throw in deals? Are they like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll just throw in that deal to make up the numbers? Because you know what, that behavior about who they are might mean that they'll just, I'll just buy that deal. It doesn't really matter, just to get the spend up. And I've seen it time and time again. When you set a £10,000 purchasing target, they'll buy deals that aren't the right ones. So the question I'd always ask is, what are they like with their risk and how are they like, actually, you know what, maybe I might not hit the £10,000 spend target, but I will make sure that I'm buying good quality deals. I mean, fundamentally, that's what you want. You don't want them to buy bad deals. Okay, second one to talk about what you're looking for in a purchasing manager is resources. Quite simply, this is about their ability to do the job, and fundamentally it's about the resources they have available. So 2 things. Number one, how easy are they to contact? You know, when you've got payments going missing, problems happening, is this VA always, you need to be able to contact that VA. So when they're a sourcing person, you're going to say they need to be the right person. So really thinking about how easy they are to contact, who they are as a person. Is that the right person that if something goes wrong, I can send them a quick message and I know pretty much within 30 minutes, I'm going to get an answer? Or is it the case that they're really hard to get hold of, they don't really give me the answers? That is not the person I want to be trusting my financial, money with. So be very careful. Number two, I also recommend looking at their internet connection and also their computer. Not so much looking at them and their computer, but do they have any track record of bad internet connection? Do they have any track record of their computer failing regularly? Quite simply, why do I talk about this? When you've got an amazing sale on, your VAs have worked really hard, found the top deals, last thing you want is your purchasing manager can't buy them because, my internet went down again, my computer stopped working. We're just not here for excuses. You're just here to buy the stock, get it done. And I don't want that problem. So really thinking about the resources they've got available and making sure there's not a problem. You don't have any questions about it, it works. My purchasing manager has a backup 4G SIM card for when he needs to jump on, maybe the local internet's down, then we've got that available to support him, but also he's done that actually himself. So I think he takes it seriously, he makes it work, and that's what you're looking for, those resources available and the mindset of your potential purchasing manager going forward. The third and final one is talking about skill set of the VA. Now, this is what you're going to see throughout the whole of the time they're with you, and we're going to just talk through what they are now, what I'm looking at, and it's the skills and the actions that your VA takes, which are going to represent good skills that are transferable over to a purchasing manager. First things first, good sourcing analysis. We're looking at the ability of a VA to submit deals which are quality deals, not submitting bad deals or deals which are a bit vague. We want good sourcing analysis, and quite simply, we're not worried about the quantity, we're actually more worried about the analysis section. So we are very interested in understanding, can they see a deal, analyze it to a high standard, because they are obviously going to have to purchase that. But if they can't do a good analysis on the deal, that's a fundamental problem. So, and quite simply, the metric of success is how many of their deals do you reject and what percentage do you keep? The higher the percentage you keep, the better their deal sourcing analysis is, because it's aligned with how you think. The second one I really recommend looking at or trying to look for in your sourcing VA is the ability to multitask. How do they handle multiple problems or multiple things at once? Or do they get quite flustered? Quite simply, my purchasing manager, he manages 4 sourcing VAs and 1 admin VA, and he's got to deal with me, and he's still got to spend like £10,000 plus per week, generate reports, do a lot of other stuff. That's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of questions, a lot of moving parts, and that's hard. And that requires the ability to multitask. So if they get flustered while you're asking them to do 2 things at once or really struggle, probably not a good sign. But if they're able to handle multiple tasks at once, that's a good sign for a purchasing manager. Now, a third one, which I recommend, time management. And what we're really looking at here is their ability to do, it's kind of like the ability to handle multiple tasks within a set time. Do they allow projects to overrun? Or are they always on point? Now, with my team, I've taught them the way I do time management, and we are like ruthless with it. Why? Because if you've ever had a meeting with someone or a phone call with someone, what you'll find is they just go over time, quite a lot. And if what you need is your purchasing manager to stop that call, maybe if he's having it with a VA that reports to him, to stop that call when it needs to happen so they can get back onto work. Not, we just chit chat, we let time run away, we're not managing the business effectively. So good time management is key to, number 1, keeping the business on track, and then number 2, getting results. That's what we want, great deals, growing your Amazon business. The fourth one, which I think is really, really important, just use the nature of it, and hey, it's helping you, is the ability to lead a team. Now, quite simply, what does this mean? I come back to my purchasing manager. Right now, he manages 5 VAs, 4 sources, 1 admin VA. Now, quite simply, it's his job to lead the team, not my job. I don't want to be dealing with the day-to-day, and also as well, he needs to lead that team, because if I'm having to lead it, then it means that All the information he knows has to then come to me, and then I have to relay it. So quite simply, I just don't want that. I don't hire people for that. I hire them to do the work for me, and I let them get on with it. So the ability to lead the team, support them. They might need some support, but quite simply, are they willing to do it, or do they shy away from maybe hosting a meeting, having a conversation with someone, doing some training? Just the ability to lead, give direction, that's really, really important. Now, you might do something really simple, like ask them, hey, Mr. VA, sourcing VA, can I ask you to direct the sourcing to the other 2 VAs, if you've got 3 in your team, to see how they manage leading the team as like a test before you promote them. Now, the final one I'd really point out, which I think is a really important one, but probably overlooked, is how detail orientated are they? There are so many small details in this business that we need to get right. It might be the credit card details put in, it might be the delivery address, it might be just putting in the right, being clear in the message that we're chasing a supplier down when they're missing stock. It can be in the difference between 1 email or 20 emails back and forward and a lot of palaver. So quite simply, their ability or attention to detail, not just on suppliers and ordering, but also reports, KPIs, managing their team. They need to be able to spot problems straight away and nip them in the bud, rather than allowing them to become a bigger problem and wasting a lot of their time. So quite simply, attention to detail is a really important skill set that we are looking for. More coffee. My God, I drink so much coffee. I tell you what, if you're hiring a purchasing manager, if you're training a purchasing manager, you're going to be drinking a lot of coffee. It's fun, I enjoy it, but it is some long time. Did 3 months training my purchasing manager up from a sourcing VA. And that was like 2 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Okay, so I've just talked about the 3 fundamentals that I look for when I promote a sourcing VA up to purchasing manager. Now, this is character, resources, and skill set. Now, quite simply this is something which is really, really key, because I always say it time and time again, it doesn't matter how good your training is, if you hire the wrong person to start with, everything else is so much harder. But get the right person, and it makes such a difference. I just want to share with you, I run a company called FastTrackFBA, and obviously you're watching the YouTube videos, and we have a VA Academy. This is whereby we hire, train the right people become sourcing VAs in your business. Now, what does this mean? We go through pretty much all these checks as a standard default within our hiring process. They all have personality assessments. We'll assess all their equipment. We'll see who they are as abilities. We do DISC assessments. We look at so many different areas of their lives and what they are doing in their skill set, that we hire fundamentally great sources, and they can easily be promoted to purchasing manager. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I can do it my own. Of course you can, I will never say you can't. But the one thing we've seen time and time again is people are looking to promote the wrong person, where maybe they made a good sourcing VA, but they just weren't the right person to be a purchasing manager. And we can help you with that. So if you are interested in having a sourcing VA, a first step before a purchasing manager, trained, hired, and fully supported for a full 12 weeks in your Amazon business, and hey, we help you out, I help you out in live phone calls, then quite simply, have a look down below. I'll drop a link to the FastTrackFBA VA Academy, whereby we can hire and train a sourcing VA to work in your business, which you can then later promote up to a purchasing manager. And hey, maybe you can come join me out here in Mexico, Cancun, when you've outsourced that business. Okay, so I've just talked really, really in depth about how to promote, what we're looking for, that skill sets, and what the process is. So let's go now into how to train a purchasing manager in your business. Let's go into it now. Okay, first things first, what I really, really recommend, and I've seen this time and time again with people who have got it wrong, you need to do the training in a very controlled manner. And what do I mean by controlled? Have a plan, have a very, very clear plan of what you want to train, how you want to train it over the course of the next, if you say, 3 months. My training with my purchasing manager and my sourcing VA, he was a sourcing VA before, he worked with me for about 2 years, and it still took me 3 months to get him to where I want him to be. And that was a lot of in-depth training. Now, quite simply, what does a controlled training plan look like? Well, I would clearly define what do I want to achieve every single month on a month-to-month basis and break that down week by week. What are the training that I want to achieve during those weeks? And then in addition to that, what are the sign-off metrics for that week? i.e. we've trained you on how to safely use the credit card and record the purchases after each purchase. and that's been ticked off and signed off within your business to say that they've trained it. Now, I really recommend having conversations throughout your training about aligning the goals, the expectations, and the skill set you're trying to teach with the company goals. Now, what do I mean by this? Quite simply, as a business, we are looking to make profit. And how do we do that? Well, we grow our revenue at a certain ROI to achieve a profitable product. And how do we grow our revenue? We buy stock, and that's where your purchasing manager comes in. The reason why I say this is because when your purchasing manager is buying, they might solely be looking at how much money I spent this week, say 10K. Now, I've seen it even in my own business whereby a VA has had pressure or felt pressure that they're not achieving that 10K spend, and they go and buy bad deals. But we need to understand and align what their initial targets are, i.e. spend per week, with the greater good, i.e. profitability. And if they try and buy bad quality deals, it's not going to align with where we want to be. So they'll buy deals, they'll buy bad deals, and they'll get the spend per week, but the business is going to fail. So having that conversation always about aligning the company goals and with the VA's goals or the purchasing manager goals is going to be key throughout the whole of that training. Now, I really recommend setting clear instructions for every single task. So let's say, for example, if it is going to be something like recording the purchases, maybe you've got a spreadsheet, maybe you've got something like the ultimate sourcing sheet whereby you record every single purchase. Now, quite simply, what you can do is get the team, your purchasing manager, to record every purchase they've got, the buy amount, the quantity, everything, and you have a set process, and maybe they report that every single day. Now, clearly define that, make it crystal clear. Why? Because if they're ever they have variance in what you expect them to do, you need to go back to that training and retrain. Why? Because if they keep getting problems, then you know they're not the right person because they're taking shortcuts. And with money, we don't do shortcuts. Get the training clear, documented, and understood by the purchasing manager. Now, that leads me quite nicely on to about progression. So you might have a whole training plan of how you want to go through that the first couple of months. What I would say is quite simply have all your training plans step by step laid out. And if it might plan to take 3 months, do not progress from 1 week to the next week until the last week is signed off and you are happy with the standard. And if that means you've got a delay, then that means you've got a delay. Do not push this through, do not get any faster, because it's just going to cause your business problem. Top tip there, do not progress to the next training until the last training is signed off and completed. Now, if I go through kind of how we've done the training with my purchasing manager, and I'll go through it as a rough guide because I could probably do like 5 weeks of videos just on this. There's so much to go through. So quite simply, how would I structure it? What would I do? Well, my first kind of introduction to the purchasing manager would always be a high level overview of what the role is, the way it works, and fundamentally how it affects the operation of the business. Every single task within that, I would show how that affects the high-level operation, whether it be recording spends or it might be reviewing the deals, how that affects the whole business. So really understanding just from a high level, what are we doing within that high-level operation? Basically just break down across that high level in no real detail, what are the fundamentals tasks of a purchasing manager. And I've kind of talked about them before, so quite simply, buying stock to the target per week, managing the sourcing VAs to ensure that they're generating deals for the purchasing manager to buy stock. And then also as well, managing the day-to-day operations of the VAs. So that could be like holidays, timekeeping, the results, feedback, for example. And then also working with my admin VA to manage all my inbound and outbound stock through our warehouse, getting shipments out, and also other things like repricing and then generating reports. That's pretty much the kind of like high-level tasks that my purchasing manager will do. But obviously you can add a lot more into that. But I just kind of give an oversight of what they are and how they fit into the greater business practice. That's quite a high level overview of like what the VA is doing. Now let's break it down into a 3-month process. And I talked about it with my purchasing manager, 3 months, how do I promote? So quite simply, what am I looking at? And what I will say is I'll drop a link down below to a guide that I've created that you can download this month, 3-month plan that's going to help you out. And obviously you can put in more detail as you go. So month number 1, what am I going to be doing with my purchasing manager to be once they signed off? So quite simply, month number 1 is going to be about reviewing deals together and building shopping baskets. And if I break that down into a 4-week period, what would I be looking? First of all, probably for the first week, I would probably be me reviewing the deals and talking through what's going on. Week 2, I would probably get my purchasing manager to review the deals with me on a call and then to give them their feedback. And then I'd probably say that I'd give them support, and I probably reckon that takes about 2 weeks. And then maybe the 4th week, so we've got weeks 1, 2, and 3 completed. The 4th week is me just listening. I'm not actually giving any feedback. I'm listening for how my purchasing manager is reviewing those deals. And maybe when I don't agree, I'm gonna ask questions around maybe what they're not looking at. Like they see a deal, they like it, they say, yeah, I would buy that, I'll put it into the shopping basket. And then you see it and go, maybe it's not selling well enough. And you ask them a question, hey, how's the sales per month looking? And you'd be like, it's not as high. Okay, does it meet the criteria that we need to set? No, it doesn't. Okay, so should it be a deal? No. Okay, let's take it out of the basket. That's it. Really simple. You're trying to support them. You're trying to ask them questions to improve their knowledge. So I simply, month 1, over a 4-week period, you doing the analysis, 2 weeks of shared analysis, and then probably one final week whereby you are really confident in their doing analysis ability and they're getting a very, very high match rate with what you are thinking. And then pretty much they're on the same wavelength, understanding how you do your deal analysis. Month 2, what would I do in month 2? Quite simply, I would be looking to do, first of all, we've got baskets being built. We did that in month 1. Now, month 2 is I would be going through that purchasing process from the basket to purchase. So probably the first week would be me doing it live, 5 days. I'd actually go through it on a live screen share with them, putting in the credit card, making the purchase, just getting them to watch me. I talk through what I'm doing every single time. Now for the next 2 weeks, quite simply, I would get the VA to do that, but I'm gonna watch them. Again, same process, I'm watching them, I'm trying to support them in it. And then the 4th week and the sign-off week for that month, i.e. then purchasing, is gonna be quite simply, they are doing the purchases live with me on a call, and I don't have to say anything because I agree with what they're doing. So if I'm watching it and I'm happy with how they're doing everything, then I'm happy with that and they can sign off that section. Now, month 3 is what I call solo purchasing. They're doing it all on their own. Now, the way this works is quite simple. They should have a good understanding of deal analysis and they should be able to do the whole process. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna basically let them do all the purchasing initially, but every single day, at the end of the day, we're gonna go through every single deal. We're gonna look at those deals and just make sure everything's done correctly. So, has the deal been reviewed correctly? Has the information been put in correctly in the sheet? And the reason why I do it this way is the fact that it's the VA doing it on their own the first time, but also as well, maybe they bought a bad deal, maybe something didn't go right. Because it's the same day, we can still cancel that deal with the supplier. We can sort out the paperwork on the day. It just means we're crossing the T's, dotting the I's on the day and resolving any issues. But also as well, it gives the purchasing manager the freedom to do it on their own. Now, for the rest of those months, so I'd probably do that for weeks 1, week 2, maybe week 3, and then kind of coming on, maybe to week 3 and week 4, I would then be really having conversations around about managing the team, sorting through how they do operational aspects, and that would be an ongoing training development. The next few months, we're always doing that because it's about supporting them in becoming an effective manager. Those first, say 2.5, 3 months are solely about spending correctly. You might think that's a bit excessive, but quite simply, when you are dealing with 100 or 10,000 pounds every single week, I'm willing to invest that time to make sure we get it right, because that's a fundamental of my business, because I want my purchasing manager to get the right skill set, the right knowledge to grow forward. Now, the final thing which I'll do throughout this is I will be looking back at the documentation that I've created, the processes, and I'll be looking at the performance of my purchasing manager. So quite simply, giving him feedback in a positive way. I've seen this, I like that. I think there's an opportunity or an area to improve here. Let's try and work on that. I'm always trying to encourage them to get better. I'm not looking at negatives, but I'm always evaluating their performance. And ultimately, what am I looking at? I'm looking at probably initially spend per week, that's my first metric, but ultimately I'm looking at revenue and then also ROI maintaining and ultimately profits. That's what we care about, profits within our business. Okay, I will just say it again, I will drop a link down below to a free guide that I created, which allows you to just download what I talked about there. It's gonna just help you out managing a purchasing manager training program to support you in your business. So have a look at that, download it, it's free. It's gonna just help you out growing your business and hey, getting the right steps and filling out the blanks to grow your business where it needs to be. And hopefully you can come join me in Mexico out here soon. Okay, that is all from me. Hopefully you've liked that. I want to say, give me a big thumbs up. This is a really big part of your Amazon business. And hey, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I'm not only looking at beginner, but also the really advanced stuff. So like purchasing manager, that's pretty serious. Okay, so around here, I'm going to drop a video called 3 Steps to Scaling an Amazon Business. And quite simply, this is a live recording that I did about how to grow your Amazon business to new heights using VAs. This is going to be a part of a fundamental learning to growing your business. And hey, looking at purchasing managers, it's going to make such a difference. So watch that live. Honestly, that's really going to help you out. But for me, Thomas Parkinson and FastTrackFBA, thank you very much.